When teams go full-time with a big series, they have to sign a contract. The World of Outlaws call it a platinum agreement. High Limit has their double down agreement. But have you ever wondered what's actually in those contracts? Good news, we're going to dive in today. Let's go. It's Monday, February 3rd. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is DIRTRACKR Daily presented by Kubota Genuine Parts. Today's daily show is being supported by Jeremy Elliott's SprintCarUnlimited.com. If you are looking for in-depth sprint car coverage all season long, then look no further. SprintCarUnlimited.com has breaking news, commentary, regular podcast episodes, and a lot more. He covers the World of Outlaws, High Limit, regional action, and all of the biggest crown jewel races. Right now, when you use code SCU2025 at checkout, you can get a year subscription for just $28. That's code SCU2025 at checkout. It works out to about $2.33 a month for coverage and reporting you can't get anywhere else. That's 20% off the regular rate and less than I pay for my subscription. I signed up way back in 2021. Make sure as well to check out the Sprint Car Unlimited YouTube channel. Jeremy has his daily 90 at 9 videos, the regular deep dive interviews, and he's launching a new show this week. Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, he's launching SprintCarUnlimited.com live, and we'll be taking your calls and questions. So make sure to check that out tomorrow night. You can tune in. You can participate. Tuesday, February 3rd, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, Sprint Car Unlimited YouTube channel. Thanks to Jeremy and SprintCarUnlimited.com for their support of the show. If you want on-track action today, Volusia, it's the only place hosting actual racing. After having Sunday off following the ASCS Sprint Cars being in town, DIRTRACKR Nationals gets going again tonight with the UMP Modifieds back on track. Modifieds are on center stage both today and tomorrow, and as I've said here multiple times on the show, the World of Outlaws season starts Wednesday. In previous years, there had been a sprint car practice night in advance of racing getting going, but not this year. They are just jumping right into things. We'll talk a lot more about the Outlaw Sprint Car season opener here as the week progresses. If you want to check out the Modifieds tonight and you're not headed to Volusia, you can watch live over on Dirt Vision. There are also late models hitting the track tonight with the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series shifting to Ocala, but it's just practice. Racing gets going again starting tomorrow, that is Tuesday. Lucas at Ocala runs then through Saturday night, and then we won't see the series again until later in March. After Saturday night, Late Model Speed Weeks itself will then close out during the final week at Volusia. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, those are Dirt Car sanctioned late model nights with the Outlaw portion running next Thursday through Saturday. It will be busy. It'll be a busy run to the end of Speed Weeks for the late model teams with really just one off day for those teams that are going to run everything. You'll be able to see practice times tonight over on my Race Pass. You can check out guys on Twitter like Kyle McFadden if you want extra coverage. The main topic I'm going to dive into today is these dirt racing full-time driver series contracts. Or at the World of Outlaws, you'll hear them referred to as platinum agreements, the platinum drivers, the platinum teams. High Limit calls their guys high rollers. They've got their double down agreement. The focus today, it's going to be more on the World of Outlaws sprint car side because I've seen some of that specific verbiage, but a lot of these same ideas, same concepts, same clauses, they're going to apply to High Limit and they're going to apply to the two late model national tours as well. Teams and drivers sign a contract to be full-time with the series, and in return, that series provides certain benefits. Both sides are required to agree to certain stipulations, and if those things are not met, then the agreement can be nullified. For the World of Outlaws specifically, there are a few Platinum team mentions in their series rulebook, but for the most part, most of their specific full-timer rules are spelled out in the agreement itself. This agreement is not available public anywhere that I'm aware of, so don't expect to be able to just find it with a Google search. The rulebook, though, it's available for anyone to see over at dirtcar.com/rules. A lot of the things you would find in the agreement, they're fairly basic and what you would expect for a lot of different types of contracts. Some legal wording that is common, like indemnification, the state and locality that the contract is governed by, and the releases. It's pretty boring stuff, all of it. There are also clauses about teams being required to comply with the series rulebook and that the rulebook can be changed at any time. Drivers and teams are also required to participate in all series events, barring any extenuating circumstances. There is a process for having excused absences and hardship points are available. We've seen this come into play with driver injuries and things like equipment breakdowns. Think about a team hauler stuck on the side of the road hours before, hours away from the next race with kind of no hope of making it to that night's show. It happens, and there is a process to make those situations as right as possible. And all of that is spelled out in the agreement. Other standard stuff includes the series providing insurance coverage for races in the event of things like injury. With WRG specifically, if I remember correctly, any dirt car member is covered. So if you sign up for a dirt car membership, one of the benefits that you get for signing up is having some insurance coverage. Platinum teams also get an allotment of free pit passes and dirt car memberships for the season. Those memberships, they're going to be used by the driver, team employees, and then the pit passes are then obviously going to be race by race for guests. Moving on to the provisions that are a bit less boring. Let's talk about other obligations that are placed on the teams. The first is appearances. Depending on the event type, drivers are required to participate in a certain number of autograph sessions throughout the year. There are also other required appearances away from the racetrack. Think about media things, sponsor events, and drivers must participate in a certain number of those as well. With the series coordinating all of that, they're going to work with the teams and drivers on when it's cool to do that. They're not just going to call up and be like, hey, in an hour, can you be somewhere? They're going to make sure all of that's organized in advance. One that I wasn't aware of is the requirement that teams stick around for a certain amount of time after the race is over. When possible, with travel not being an issue, cars must remain out of the trailers and drivers available at their haulers for usually a period of 30 minutes after the checkered flag falls. It says the series will blow a release horn when that time comes to an end. Driver and team accessibility has always been a hallmark of short track racing, and I personally like that the series has included it in the agreement. Another interesting one is the practice and testing provision. At least on the Outlaw Sprint Car side, teams are not allowed to practice or test at the track coming up for a period of 7 days in advance of the event without approval. I've talked before about Sprint Car teams testing being almost non-existent when compared to the late model side, and this would certainly limit at least some of that. Another big aspect of the Platinum agreement with the Outlaws, and one that has been a regular topic of conversation the last couple of years, is the race restrictions placed on teams. We know that teams can stay in good standing and still race up to 8 times elsewhere. If they want to participate in the exclusivity bonus money program, though, that number drops to 4 races. We've seen some drivers take full advantage of those 4 races and use them all. Examples include Carson Macedo, Gio Scelzi, and Buddy Kofoid, while others chose to not go out and not use all of them. Donnie Schatz is an example of a driver that didn't use his 4 freebies last year. He made just 2 high-limit appearances. Those were the 2 Eldora nights during King's Royal Week. David Gravel also only used 3. A question that comes up every year is whether or not races like the Capitani Classic and Front Row Challenge would be included as extra races, but the agreement states specifically they are not. Teams can race in those 2 events in addition to their 4 or 8 races away from the series. One other interesting note is that if a race is postponed or canceled, teams can ask to race at another event and have that not count towards the 4 or 8 race, allotment of freebies. Another stipulation for that exclusivity bonus is that teams must display the Dirt Vision logo on the car and trailer in specified locations. They're also prohibited from promoting competitors to Dirt Vision. There is a key qualifier here, though, because I already can feel your heads exploding as you're like, I can't promote somebody away from Dirt Vision. When they participate in races away from the series, they are allowed to mention other streaming and broadcast channels. Think about social media posts as an example. If Carson Macedo goes and runs with High Limit at Eldora, JJR, Jason Johnson Racing, is allowed to say the race is on flow. So don't freak out over that one. The final thing I'll talk about here is tow money. It's officially called the Winner's Circle program with the Outlaws actually on both the late model and the sprint car side. With the sprint car teams, they effectively get $500 for each race. If there's a multi-day event, they get the full amount for the first day and then 50% of that for additional days. There's also additional tow money available for teams that are back on tour this year who raced full-time last year. And then new teams can get the added money if they stay past the middle of July. It's basically up to an additional $500. So for a single day show, that's $1,000. That's $1,000. We've covered those amounts before here on the show. That's actually public information. And this tow money then is in addition to the point fund, the exclusivity bonus, purse money, and any contingency awards. You can actually find a rundown of available contingency awards on the Outlaw website if you are curious. One example is Hoosier. Teams who make the dash each night at an Outlaw show, they get 10 points per night for making the dash. And once they get to 20 points, so effectively if you make 2 dashes, you get a free tire. So there you go, a higher level look at what is actually in one of these full-time series driver contracts and what is asked, really of both sides, the series side and the teams. When we talk about why drivers sign up with these series, it's all, because of these benefits. They can make life on the road and their costs a lot easier. Unless a driver is winning all the time, it's tough to make up some of these costs when running a sizable pick and choose schedule. But when a team chooses to sign up, there are going to be some trade-offs. That's the Daily Show for today. Hope you guys have a great Monday out there. We will see you right back here tomorrow.